Understanding your customer's payment flow is like turning up to a roundabout that you've never been to before. It's got 6 lanes. All the road markings are worn out on each lane with cars parked over them. You're not too sure what you're doing. You're not too sure which lane you should be in. You're not too sure how to get around the situation. This is what happens to your invoices if you do not understand your customer's payment flow. I recently worked on a one-to-one basis with a video firm up here in North Manchester. They have a very large client with a UK head office and an invoice processing section in Holland. And they approached me and they said, "Rachel, is there anything we can do to get our invoices paid on time by this company?" I said, "Well, what do you know about what you do now?" They said, "Well, we do the job. We email the invoice to our contact. But then somewhere between the contact and the accounts processing, it seems to get lost. So we chase up our contact, and he says he sent it, but accounts processing haven't received it. So then we have to email accounts processing, and we go backwards and forwards with email, and then eventually they say they've got it. Then there's another delay when it goes back to our contact for him to approve it. His approval then goes back to Holland to put it on the system as approved. And then once it's approved, it gets on the next payment run and is paid by the UK head office. It's all so complicated and we just can't get our head around how we can help them. So we reviewed what they told me. The first thing they did wrong was they emailed it only to their contact. The first thing we changed was emailing the accounts payable department, copying in their contact. This meant that they could ring up the accounts payable department knowing that they directly emailed them and that they should have received the invoice. Doing this step reduced the number of days it took them to get paid by 14. The next thing we implemented was that when they spoke to accounts payable, they didn't just check they'd received it, they checked whether it had been approved. If it hadn't been approved, they are able to pick up the phone to their contact and say, "Hi, we copied you into an email that we sent to accounts payable on this date, but they're saying you've not approved our invoice yet. Is there something you don't understand about it? I know you're really busy, but can you just check you got the email? You did? Brilliant. Well, whilst you've got it open in front of you, can you just email back to everyone and say it's approved?" "Perfect, thanks mate." By making this phone call, my client took another 14 days off the payment date for this customer. So once we got into the process of doing that, and it became a habit to them, we then looked at the final step. This was the payment department in the UK. You would think that they didn't need to contact the payment department in the UK. But what we did was put a strategy in place so that every week they would ring up on a Friday afternoon their contact in the UK payment department. They didn't ring up only when they had an invoice outstanding. They'd ring up every week, just for a chat. Find out a bit about them initially, find out what they're doing at the weekend, and then keep the communication going. Over a period of 3 to 4 weeks, they got to know the person who paid their invoices really well. They'd ring up, the person who paid their invoices would absolutely look forward to the chats. By doing this, their invoices are now paid within a couple of days of the due date. All we did was change 3 steps. My client then took it one stage further, and when he next went down to London to visit his contact, he turned round and he said to his contacts, "Is the UK payment department in this building?" His contact replied, "Yes, they're on the 2nd floor." So when he'd finished his meeting, He went down to the second floor, walked into accounts, and asked someone to point him to the person he'd been having these conversations with. He went over and he said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so." And she went, "You're that bloke who rings me up every week just for chat. I really look forward to our chats. And do you know what? I'll never let anything get in the way of your payments. Oh, and hang on a minute. I needed to call you anyway because I'm going away in a couple of weeks, so I won't be here to do your payments. But have you got 5 minutes for a cup of tea? Because I'll drag Bernadette over. She's the one who's going to be doing your payments whilst I'm away. And it's just so nice to put a face to the name. You weren't at all what I thought you'd look like. Do you have time for a coffee?" How amazing did that conversation feel? This customer, who had been paying them almost 30 to 45 days late, is now paying them within a couple of days of the due date. All we did was looked at the direction and the way that they could get through that confusion that is that roundabout you've never been to. If you can spend time to understand how your customer's payment flow works, you'll massively help yourself in getting your invoices paid on time. So I really hope you found that useful. I'm Rachel, I'm the contracts lady, and I'd love to help you in any way I can. One thing to always remember is the fact, as shown in this case, you're speaking to a person, not a purse. Bye for now.